Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the GSMC Hockey Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Garrison McDaniel, and we have a great show for you guys today, where we'll be starting off talking about Game 6, giving you a breakdown from that, what led us to the Game 7. That is currently ongoing between the Florida Panthers and the Edmonton Oilers as we speak. We have a tie game in that one. Of course, I'll be keeping you guys up to date with the score as I get as things progress throughout that game. Next, on our second segment of the night, we'll be talking trade rumors from the weekend. Some big pieces have potentially already been moved, potential prospects that have been talked about throughout the weekend as well. Our third segment of the night, we will be previewing Game 7. Of course, it is ongoing right now, so we are seeing some of the things that I will be saying come to life a little bit. However, it is also important that I do preview the game still, it's still going on, so all things still should matter in that. Our fourth segment, I will be talking about where would this rank if the Edmonton Oilers are able to beat the Florida Panthers tonight. Where would this rank all time in historical sports comebacks, not just NHL comebacks, because I believe that this is the most influential NHL game that we have had, possibly of all time. But we'll talk about overall in all sports. And then to round things off, our fifth and final segment will be my live reaction to Game 7, a live breakdown and what I saw. But before we get into all of that, as always, if you guys would like to help support the show a little bit more, become a regular, become a bigger part of the show than you guys already are, you can ask me questions at the GSMCpodcast.net link. Use it. It is the tips and donations link. You can use it to ask me questions. That will show up live on air for you guys. But without further ado, we're going to get right into our first segment, breaking down Game 6 from the Stanley Cup playoffs. Game 6, of course, was Friday night. We talked about it as it was ongoing, but I left you guys off while it was still during the second period. And now, of course, we got the final, and it was a very important one. 5-3 for the Edmonton Oilers to complete their comeback. It is now a tied series, so the Game 7 is separate from the rest of the series at this point, making it just a best of one, winner takes all in the game that's going on right now, as it is still 1-1. 14 minutes left in the second period in that game. But in terms of this game, it was a really weird game. The Oilers dominated the Panthers in a way that actually it was not 5-3. Unfortunately, I am having a little bit of technical difficulties. Hold on. I thought this is from game 5, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So hold on. Bear with me, guys. Let me get the right game up for you guys. I definitely do have it here somewhere. There we go. All right. This should be the right graphic. I apologize, guys. I thought I switched that one out. Anyways, Oilers-Panthers Game 6 was 5-1 by the Oilers. Oilers really dominated in this one. It was really off the back of Stuart Skinner, who had a fantastic game. All games that he's played while he's facing elimination, he has been very dominant. He has around above .930 save percentage in those games, giving up less than 2 goals against as well. So facing elimination, this guy has been a different animal. Playing in games 5 through 7 has been, we've seen a different Stuart Skinner than we are kind of grown accustomed to. For the Oilers, however, it was more so playing the Florida Panthers style of hockey and making them uncomfortable by doing what they do to everybody else. The Oilers were able to create a lot of neutral zone takeaways. That led to a bunch of on-man rushes. As I saw on a stat today, that in games 4 through 6, the Oilers have had 5 out of 5 breakaways go their way. And in this game, we saw that as well. They've been generating a lot of offense through defensive mistakes. And it's been through defensive mistakes from Gustav Forsling and Aaron Ekblad and Brandon Montour. It's been their big three. The ones that have been sound for the, as my voice goes a little bit out, the ones that have been sound for the Florida Panthers have been Nico Mikola, it's been Oliver Ekman-Larsson, who has had a fantastic series, and it's been Dmitry Kulikov on that third-line defensive pairing. And it's just Gustav Forsling and Aaron Ekblad has had a bad last few games. The last 3 games, as after I was praising him and Gustav Forsling. I was praising them nonstop for the first 3 games of this series. It's been so disappointing on the other end for the Florida Panthers defenseman, especially Aaron Ekblad. You expect this guy to step up in the big moments. That's kind of why you got him on your team back in 2013 when he was the first overall pick. I believe that was that year. It's been just disappointing for the Florida Panthers. But going through the goals in this game, so Chris Knoblauch did a weird thing in this game. He had the lines that were working out for games 4 and 5. You had on the first line, it was Warren Foegele, it was Connor McDavid, and it was Zach Hyman. And that second line, it was Nugent Hopkins, Leon Draisaitl, and Dylan Holloway. But for this game, he switched Warren Foegele and Ryan Nugent Hopkins, and it seemed like, they had Nugent Hopkins on the second line and Warren Foegele on the first line. And he switched those two and put Warren Foegele on the second line, who we would think is a little worse offensive production than you're getting out of Ryan Nugent Hopkins. And that doesn't make sense on a line that you want Leon Draisaitl to start producing. And it made sense in games 4 and 5 when you had Nugent Hopkins on that second line to have him down there because you weren't getting that production out of Leon Draisaitl. But it worked like a charm in this game. Warren Foegele and Leon Draisaitl played amazingly. It was a shock when we saw them, hit the ice in warm-ups for the same line on Friday. But Chris Knoblauch knows what he does. Anything that this man touches turns to gold right now. And truly, he is a big part of the Oilers being able to kind of bounce back this entire season for them. The first goal, it was Warren Foegele, and this is why we talked about him a little bit there. It was Warren Foegele from Leon Draisaitl and Brett Kulak. It was a fantastic pass by Leon Draisaitl, one of the best ones I've ever seen. Just absolutely being able to thread the needle in that one, and able to get that goal for Warren Foegele with his 3rd goal of the playoffs. This guy stepping up, coming alive when it matters most. The second goal was Adam Henrique from Matthias Janmark and Matthias Ekholm. This was also a cross-crease goal. That's kind of their style in these. That was their style in the early goings of this game. That goal also came with 46 seconds into the second period. Really blew this game open. And then it's a Zach Hyman breakaway goal. It was a Ryan Nugent Hopkins block shot that led to Zach Hyman on a breakaway, scoring the 3rd goal of the game, getting the Oilers to a 3-0 lead. Alexander Barkov, with a fantastic individual effort, tried to make some efforts at a comeback for the Florida Panthers, making it 3-1. It was a fantastic individual goal by Alexander Barkov, but it was all for naught as Ryan McLeod and Darnell Nurse both get empty net goals. And I mean, really fantastic game played by the Edmonton Oilers. And you don't get a shot on net from shot on goal from Connor McDavid. He doesn't have a point in this game, and you're winning 5-1. That's a fantastic sign for the Edmonton Oilers, especially as they're going into a Game 7 where you don't know if you can really rely on that guy. You want to hope that you can, but you don't know for certain if he will be able to turn provider for you. So we will see what that looks like for the for the Edmonton Oilers. And as this game is going on, it is still 1-1 with 12 minutes left to go. Of course, I'm keeping an eye out on that game as I'm doing this for you guys. But going into the stars of the night from Friday night, the first one is Stuart Skinner. It absolutely is Stuart Skinner. Deservingly so, 20 saves, only 1 goal against. It's a .952 save percentage. Talked about how great this guy is. in his closeout games, and we're seeing that here. 20 saves, 1 goal against, .952 save percentage. Fantastic game played by Stuart Skinner here. And the second star of the night, it's Warren Foegele. A goal and assist on only 14:40 time on ice. So impressive. He stepped up when he really needed to. He was, put into that position by Chris Knoblauch to go down a line, as he grown accustomed to that first line, playing with McDavid and Hyman, and he produced even on that second line. I mean, you're getting Leon Draisaitl on your line. It makes sense how you're producing, but this game, it was a dominant one by the Oilers. The Panthers were outshot in the first period, like 13-4 something, and then was able to switch it back on, but it was the giveaways and the Oilers forced takeaways that got the Oilers the win in this one. I believe that let me make sure I get the stat right. It was 18 takeaways for the Oilers to the Florida Panthers' 5 in this game. Absolutely dominant. The Oilers continuing to shut down a power play, only letting up one power play goal against in this entire series. The Panthers entered the game today 1 for 19 on the power play. The Oilers are +1 on the power play, or on the penalty kill. Actually, they've scored 2 shorthanded goals and given up only 1 goal against on the power play. Is absolutely insane. Some crazy work by the Edmonton Oilers. Truly, this team's just a team on a mission. They are rolling in this series. It's been fantastic for them. 5-1 is your score from Friday. We talked a little bit about it, but after watching some more of it, the Oilers were able to play that Florida Panthers style of hockey. Were able to create takeaways, generate turnovers. These turnovers led to odd man rushes created for the Oilers, and they capitalized consistently on them. They looked fantastic in this game. The Panthers look demoralized. They truly do look. They look like they've, given in to what's happening on the other side. That crowd in Edmonton was insane as well. That game 6, truly, I don't think I'll see a hockey crowd similar to that for a while at least. Until I see a Canadiens in a Stanley Cup final, maybe a Maple Leafs, but I still don't think that the Maple Leafs can generate what the Edmonton Oilers just did. That was a passionate fan base that were celebrating their team's achievement, and it was insane to watch. It was so much fun to watch. The Edmonton Oilers tie up the series in this Game 6. Going into this Game 7 now with all the momentum, it's 1-1 in this game, as I mentioned. It's gonna be a fantastic finish to this year, to a hockey season that deserves a fantastic finish. That this hockey season's been all over the place for the entirety of it. Just some absolutely exciting stuff is going on in the hockey world right now. I'm so excited and so lucky to be able to talk about it. Truly, it's been a fantastic. I couldn't imagine a better playoffs to talk about. So. That'll wrap it up for our first segment of the night, talking about the Game 6 breakdown of the Stanley Cup Final. When I come back, we will be talking more trade rumors. I know I talked about it on Friday, but there's been more that's happened over the weekend. As we get into this offseason, we know a lot of pieces that are going to be moving, and now some have already officially moved.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits, some loose shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip, you choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
Welcome back to the GSMC Hockey Podcast, presented by the GSMC Sports Network. We're in our second segment of the night, talking about NHL trade rumors from the weekend. What has, come to life after a couple of days where things were kind of flying out of nowhere. the biggest one that did happen today. Let me actually make sure I get all the pieces right in this trade here. Give me 1 second. Actually, it is Linus Ullmark being traded to the Ottawa Senators, the team that we knew was definitely gonna be a suitor for a goaltender here, and for the Boston Bruins in their official announcement. What they got back for Linus Ullmark, a former Vezina winning goaltender, Joonas Korpisalo, who was statistically the worst goaltender in the NHL this past season, the 25th overall pick in this future draft. I believe if we are going through my mock draft, that would be somewhere around Liam Greentree, maybe. Actually, now I'm curious who would be 25th overall in my mock draft that I did. It would be, once I get there, 25th overall was Lushenko, which is Jet Lushenko is a very good prospect, so that's actually not too bad. I do like Jet Lushenko a lot, but you're getting some guy around there, someone like that. Of course, my mock draft isn't going to be 100% correct. Sorry. And you're also getting a forward named Mark Kastelik in addition to all of that. You're also getting Joonas Korpisalo at 25% retained, who Joonas Korpisalo is one of the worst contracts in the NHL, to be quite frank. So, honestly, I've seen a lot of Boston fans mad about this one. Of course, you're losing your Vezina goaltender. You don't really have too much of a... You don't have too much of a say in what, as I'm speaking this, of course, I'm also keeping an eye out on the Florida Panthers-Oilers game. The Panthers just take a lead in this game. It is now 2-1 in the Stanley Cup Final, Game 7. With 5 minutes left in this second period, the Panthers are able to take the lead in that game. It is a goal from Sam Reinhart. Of course, the assists haven't come in yet, but that could be a very influential goal. Thank you, Alex. Sam Reinhart makes it 2-1. That could be a very influential goal in this Stanley Cup Final with only 25 minutes left to play in this entire season. The Florida Panthers do take a lead here. But as I was saying, for Linus Ullmark, we knew that they weren't going to get back what they really wanted. Like, they weren't going to get a package back for this guy. He's made it clear that, or you made it clear that you're trading him. So now it's just the best bidder, and everybody, and truly, it was only a handful of teams that were really looking for a goaltender. The Devils already got there, and with the Markstrom return that they got, or with what they had to give up for Markstrom, it didn't seem like goalies were that too valued this year. Is the problem here? So this is kind of what happens. You end up with a return that you're not too happy about, but you have Jeremy Swayman still. You're not really worried about your goaltending situation. You're more or less worried about your prospect situation and then your forward situation right now. If you're the Boston Bruins, hopefully for them, they can hit on that 25th overall pick. If not, I think this team spirals a little bit in the upcoming years. Does a little bit worse next year, does a little bit worse the next year, and then it starts to enter a rebuilding or retooling phase. For Linus Ullmark, you knew he was going to get traded. He officially does. For the Ottawa Senators, it's a fantastic deal. You got your goaltender, who you felt like not having a goaltender this year for the Senators is why they weren't a playoff contender. Honestly, with that forward core, with the entire team that they have around them, they just needed a goaltender. What they were getting from Anton Forsberg and Joonas Korpisalo this year was literally the worst in the NHL, and that's what led to them being a below average team. So, congratulations for the Senators. They're looking like they'll be in the playoff hunt next year. Moving on now, I heard a lot of noise about Rucker McGorty going somewhere this offseason over the weekend. Of course, he announced that he was going back to Michigan for his third year in collegiate hockey after being drafted in the first round in 2022 by the Winnipeg Jets. Rucker McGorty is a fantastic forward prospect. He's played on Team USA in World Juniors, has played very well in the World Juniors as well. A good prospect that can definitely be of use for an NHL team. And it kind of left you scratching your head, like, why aren't they trusting in Rucker here? Why aren't they taking him into the NHL team? And now I'm hearing that they're trying to get a package for they're using Nikolai Ehlers and Rucker McGorty in a package for somebody or for a higher draft pick. I don't know what they're looking for a return here in Winnipeg, but it does leave me scratching my head a little bit because I feel like Rucker McGorty can definitely produce at the NHL level, and he's under team contract for 2 more years here. We'll see where he ends up if he does end up getting traded. I believe he absolutely does because he deserves to be playing in the NHL. He's a fantastic forward, as I mentioned, that is looking to, take that next step. Of course, I don't think he wants to go back to Michigan for a 3rd year in a row. It's a fun place to play. You're playing with a lot of talent around you, but I mean, that team was not that great this year. With a lot of fantastic individual pieces. I mean, what are the individual pieces they had? They had Frank Nazar on their team. They had Gavin Brindley, who was playing fantastic. They had Rucker McGorty. They had a really good defense on top of all that, and a fantastic goaltender on the back end. I only know all this because I wrote for the Ohio State men's ice hockey team and had to watch them destroy the Ohio State men's ice hockey team while I was in the press box for that game. So they had fantastic talent, and it's a fun place to play. But when you're NHL ready, you just want to get to the NHL, and it makes sense. Another big name, Brett Pesce, is coming up in a lot of talks. What's going on in Carolina, man? Their entire team wants out. Martin Necas is good as gone on that team. Brett Pesce wants to be gone. Teuvo Teravainen still, I'm not hearing anything with contract talks for him. You have Jake Gensel, who's a pending UFA, who admitted that he wants to return, so we'll see what happens there. On the back end, I heard Brady Shea's not returning, which will be a huge loss to their defense decor. So the Carolina Hurricanes are kind of all over the place right now, and for a team that was, perennial 100-point contender, you're wondering what's going on. Of course, they lost their general manager this offseason. He went to take control of the Columbus Blue Jackets. Don Waddell this is. So maybe that adds a little bit to all of this. Just their new general manager isn't being able to negotiate as well as Don Waddell was able to. But, I mean, this entire team wants out in Carolina. So we'll see what happens with all of that. Of course, you have a fantastic core around Sebastian Aho, who is a superstar. So Jake Gensel will return, who played fantastic for the Carolina Hurricanes in the last half of the year after they got him for the trade deadline. You still have 2 fantastic goaltenders in Kochetkov and Freddie Anderson. So we'll see what goes on in Carolina. But right now, it looks like a lot of people went out, and we'll see if they're able to replace them. Other big rumors that I've heard. Okay, I'm trying to think about how to phrase this. I saw on Twitter today that the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Utah Hockey Club have come to an agreement for a trade with Mitch Marner. However, this could just be a rumor, and this isn't 100% information. It's just a rumor I saw on Twitter from a former NHL insider writer. So I don't know how reputable this is. This could not have happened. However, Mitch Marner rumored to be going to the Utah Hockey Club. And if this is true, that is insane. That is I can't wait to see the return. That return for a Mitch Marner is gonna be, that's a blockbuster. That truly is a blockbuster trade. You're not gonna give up Logan Cooley. You're not gonna give up Clayton Keller in a trade like this. You're not gonna give up maybe a Dylan Gunther you're willing to give up for a Mitch Marner, maybe. No, I mean this is a blockbuster trade here. It's gonna have, of course, it probably involves a top round pick here for the Utah Hockey Club if they have actually come to terms for a trade here. But this could be very influential for both teams. Mitch Marner, a 100-point getter, however, playing with the superstars of the Toronto Maple Leafs, so you don't know how much you take that to account there. And then on the other end, a Toronto Maple Leafs team who believe that they're ready to win now, but just lacking depth pieces. If they're able to get some in this trade back, that team could be very good. So we'll see what the return is. If this is true, of course, it's just a rumor, as I said previously. So take it with a grain of salt. But if Mitch Marner does go to the Utah Hockey Club, that is a crazy big trade in the NHL. So we'll see if that does happen. I saw that if it did happen, it would be announced on the draft floor over on Friday. So we'll see. I'm also hearing a lot of trades can be going down on the draft floor on Friday. I can't wait to talk about all of that. But that'll wrap it up for our second segment on the GSMC Hockey Podcast. When I get back, we'll be talking about Stanley Cup Final, Game 7, talking about the preview, talking about the lines, going into this game, what's been different for both teams.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
Welcome back to the GSMC Hockey Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. We're going into our third segment of the night, the Stanley Cup Final Game 7 preview. But before we get into that, as always, if you guys would like to become a bigger part of the show, help support the creators out here at the GSMC Podcast Network, GSMC Sports Network. Use the tips and donation, GSMCpodcast.net. That is appearing across your screen right now. But as always, we're talking about a preview here. As kind of grown accustomed here on the GSMC Hockey Podcast, we're talking about previews as the game's currently going on. It's just what time we do the podcast, and it makes sense. For this game, however, this is going to be the most watched hockey game of all time. I think everybody has already kind of realized that. There's so much that goes into this game. So many storylines. First off, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins was drafted to the Edmonton Oilers 13 years ago to this date. June 24th, 2011. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins became what was the run of first overall picks for the Edmonton Oilers. He is the only one that stayed of Hall, Nugent-Hopkins, and Nail Yakupov. And then, of course, in 2015, they also have the number one overall pick where they do select Connor McDavid, but that's in a different kind of a different era for these Edmonton Oilers. It's crazy. They won the lottery in 4 years. This luckiest team ever, but they didn't hit too well on their picks. So I mean, law of averages, I guess. For the Edmonton Oilers, however, Nugent-Hopkins is the only number one overall pick from that 3-year run that stayed, and he is playing for the first line 13 years to the day later in a Stanley Cup Final Game 7 for this team that he has loved, that he has played for, that he is an assistant captain for. He is playing on that first line like he did in Game 6, Game 1, Game 2, and Game 3 of the Stanley Cup Final with Connor McDavid and Zach Hyman. Warren Foegele, Leon Draisaitl, Dylan Holloway is your second line here. Matthias Janmark, Adam Henrique, Connor Brown is your third line. Ryan McLeod, Derek Ryan, and Corey Perry is your fourth line. There we go. Going to the next biggest storyline here for the Edmonton Oilers. Of course, you have McDavid and Draisaitl trying to win their first cup. However, those guys are a little bit younger than the other guys here. Corey Perry. I saw somebody on Twitter say that this is either the greatest story of perseverance or the worst luck of all time, as this is his 5-year run has been insane. Stanley Cup final in 2024 with these Edmonton Oilers. 2023 losing in the first round to the Toronto Maple Leafs. 22 losing in the Cup final on the Tampa Bay Lightning. 21 losing in the Cup final on the Dallas Stars, and 2020 losing in the Cup final on the Montreal Canadiens. He either becomes somebody that lost the Cup on a fourth different team in 5 years, or he becomes a guy that stuck through it and finally won a cup, his second of his career, by the way. His first coming in 07 with the Ducks, of course. 07? Yes, 07, and then 06 was the Oilers Hurricanes. Yep. So I mean, this could be this honestly for Corey Perry could go either way. Another big storyline. You have Stuart Skinner coming into this game. Edmonton kid playing for his hometown team, getting the start in net in a Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final on the road in Florida. What better storyline than that here? And then you also have Cody Ceci looking to get his first Stanley Cup after a long and difficult and up and down career for Cody Ceci. You also have Mattias Ekholm, who's looking to get his first after many years in Nashville, just being so close. So for that's what's going on for the Edmonton Oilers in this Game 7, just one game away. The other side, Carter Verhaeghe going for his third Stanley Cup final or third Stanley Cup in the 2020s. Of course, winning 2 with the Tampa Bay Lightning in 2020 and 2021. Alexander Barkov playing for this team, number 3 overall pick for this team back in 2014. You have Sam Reinhart, who has had a very up and down career. Sam Bennett, who has had a very up and down career. You have Matthew Tkachuk, who is looking to do what his dad was never able to do and win a Stanley Cup. Vladimir Tarasenko trying to win his second after winning one on the Blues in his career. Kyle Okposo playing over 1,000 regular season games and having the chance at winning the Cup for the first time after having a very long tenure with the Buffalo Sabres that they were never able to do something. Aaron Ekblad trying to win his first with the team that drafted him number 1 overall. The defenseman being drafted number 1 overall is a rarity in the NHL, and he's trying to turn provider for them. Gustav Forsling going rags to riches kind of storyline there. Getting placed on waivers by the Carolina Hurricanes. Being claimed up by the Florida Panthers, they developed him into a top 2 D-man. Oliver Ekman-Larsson, after a decade of, how can I put this nicely, wasting away on the Arizona Coyotes, he finally gets a chance at a cup. Man, this Game 7 has so much riding on it. And then, on top of all that, there's a team that is trying to make a 3-0 comeback in this game. Only the second time in Stanley Cup Finals history that this would happen. Only the sixth time in professional sports history that a 3-0 comeback in a playoff series will happen. This is historic. We'll talk about where this ranks in historical comebacks in the next segment, but truly, this game has so much riding on it, so many storylines. And as we are talking about so many storylines, we are going into the third and final period of the night with the Florida Panthers at a 2-1 lead by a Sam Reinhart goal, assist from Carter Verhaeghe and Dmitry Kulikov. That is Verhaeghe's second point of the night. Huge. That guy's coming in huge. We'll be talking all about what I've seen in this Game 7 in our 5th segment of the night. But just looking at the lines here, Talked about storylines. Looking at the lines, they do go back to Kyle Okposo here with taking out Nick Cousins. But it's really just the same lineup we're seeing for the Florida Panthers. Nothing changing on the defensive pairing. Nothing changing in the power play unit. And nothing changing in the penalty kill unit. It is, of course, also Sergei Bobrovsky, after some speculation that he might miss this game because he wasn't in practice yesterday, but it seems like that was more just for him to kind of mentally reset after a few poor games that he's played now. On the other end, they do, for Chris Knobloch, he does stick with Nugent Hopkins, McDavid, Hyman on that first line, as Fogle, Draisaitl, and Holloway really did work out well in that Game 6. And then it's the same bottom six that we've seen for the entire series. You also have Ekholm, Bouchard, Nurse, Broberg, Kulak, Ceci. Desharnais is out for this team now. And Sam Gagner, Sam Carrick, and Evander Kane are the other notable scratches for the Edmonton Oilers. They do stick with their special teams unit as well. And Stuart Skinner is getting the start for the Edmonton Oilers as well. Another big part about this game, Paul Maurice, 26-year head coaching career, one of the longest lasting head coaches in the NHL. Been on a few different teams, taking over this Florida Panthers team after Joel Quenneville had to step down in 2023, last year, I believe, maybe 22. But anyways. He is 4-0 in Game 7s in these Stanley Cup Finals. That is a very good record. Looking to maintain that, of course. Other historical things that come into effect here. You have the last 3 Game 7 winners in the Stanley Cup Final has been the road team winning the game. However, in Game 7s of the Stanley Cup Final history, it is 12-5 for the home team overall. So a bunch of different, whatever side you're on, you could really throw whatever stat you want. There's plenty of them to go around. So that'll wrap it up for our preview of the Stanley Cup Final Game 7. Of course, I'm not going to give you my picks or predictions for this game because, honestly, I have no clue, and I'm not even going to claim to know. I thought I knew at the start of this series that the Panthers were going to mop the floor with the Oilers. Well, it turns out the Oilers actually have a lot of fight in them. So that'll wrap it up for our third segment of the night. When I come back, in my third break of the night, we'll be talking about where would this comeback rank all time in historical comebacks.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
Welcome back to the GSMC Hockey Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. We're back with our fourth segment tonight, talking about where would this comeback rank all time. To know where it would rank all time, we got to talk about the greatest sports comebacks. Also, it might not even happen as the Florida Panthers are up 2-1 in this game here. One more period left to play for all the marbles, whatever sports cliches you want to toss out here. You do have this final game left to play, final period left to play. Of course, the Oilers are going to look to come out strong, come out fire in here. Whatever Captain Connor is saying in that locker room right now, I promise you it's better than anything that I could come up with in my head. But if they were to win this game, let's just say hypothetically they were to win this game, where would this comeback rank all time? I have just a list of probably the biggest comebacks in each sport here. In hockey, it's probably the 42 Maple Leafs Red Wings, 3-0 Stanley Cup Final. Maple Leafs were able to come back in that series, winning that Stanley Cup in 1942. However, this is 80 years ago. I have in football the Patriots 28-3 I also kind of have honorable mentions for biggest collapse. This isn't a comeback, but 18-1 Patriots in 2007 when they lost that Super Bowl. That's a huge collapse. But that is more on the collapse side than on the comeback side that we're talking about here. In baseball, I have Yankees Red Sox in 2004. That is the only other 3-0 comeback in professional sports that's not hockey. It is, of course, the Red Sox. Was it the Red Sox that came back in that series? I gotta make sure. Or was it? Yeah. Oh, Terry Francona managed this team. That's insane. But anyways, let's make sure. Yes. That was the Red Sox making the comeback in that series. I had to make sure I had my facts straight. But yeah, the Yankees collapsing in 2004 with a 3-0 comeback by the Boston Red Sox. That's a huge story just because it's the Yankees-Red Sox rivalry. Of course, the Babe Ruth rivalry, as I call it. Very influential one in baseball. And in basketball, which is probably the one I'll be talking about most here, is the Cleveland Cavaliers in 2016. All right. Patriots 28-3 against the Falcons, I think, comes in dead last here. Here's why. It's a Patriots team that is looking for, Brady's sixth. It's looking for all of these players to win multiple rings. Like, it's not influential in their sport. Of course, it's a fantastic story, a fantastic comeback. Very difficult to do, coming back 25 points in a second half. However, it's not that crazy. Like, I'm thinking of it as like Connor McDavid is trying to do this to cement his name in history, the NHL. At that time, Brady has won 5 rings. He was already widely recognized as the greatest of all time. That just kind of solidified it. So I think that comes in last on my list. Next, I have Maple Leafs Red Wings in 1942. I think that might just be because it was 82 years ago, and nobody I know was alive to watch that. So I don't know. I don't know if that's really influential. That's why I have that so down low on the list. My next one, I would say Yankees Red Sox in 04. That comes in higher because it is it is the AL East rivalry between those two historic franchises, and you have the Boston Red Sox doing it on the Yankees. That makes it just a little bit sweeter for me. But my number one here of those 4 that I listed is the Cleveland Cavaliers in 2016, coming back from a 3-1 series deficit in the NBA Finals. It's LeBron finally winning a championship in Cleveland. That makes that moment so special, and I think that is why it rivals what's going on in the NHL so well. Okay, here's why what's going on in hockey is so important. Connor McDavid is a Canadian player on a Canadian team trying to bring the Stanley Cup back to Canada for the first time since 1993. 31 years it has been since a Canadian team has won the Stanley Cup. Not for lack of trying. In 2020, the Montreal Canadiens made it to a Cup final. In 2011, the Vancouver Canucks lost the Game 7, heartbreaking fashion. In 2006, the Edmonton Oilers lost to the Carolina Hurricanes. Was that a Game 7 as well? I think it might have been. Yes, it was a Game 7 because Jason Williams was on that Hurricanes team, Mr. Game 7. But it's been since 1993 that a Canadian team has won the Stanley Cup, and that's what makes this so influential and so important, and just in the grand scheme of things, why we're talking about this as one of the greatest comebacks of all time. So I kind of hinted at it. This, I think, is the greatest comeback of all time. We talked about the Cavs in 2016 coming back from 3-1. However, it is a Cavs team that made it to the NBA Finals the year before. Lost bad to the Golden State Warriors in 2015, but they were without Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love for much of that series. So the team was better than what they showed. And in 2016, they just finally put it together with Kyrie Irving going off in Game 6. I think he dropped 40 in Game 6. And then in Game 7, played out of his mind, hitting that 3. LeBron James with the block on the other end. So it wasn't inconceivable. This was inconceivable. 10 days ago, this was inconceivable. Chris Knobloch said in a press conference after that Game 3 loss, he said, I'm so excited for the next 10 days. And now we're 10 days later, and he has a chance at making that 3-0 comeback. Truly, this seemed inconceivable. I think Sean McDonough was the one that made the call after the Game 6 win, or was it Ray Ferraro? I don't know. It was one of them that made the call after the Game 6 win. 6 days ago, this seemed impossible. 3 days ago, it seemed improbable. Today, it doesn't only seem feasible, but likely. After that Game 6 win by the Edmonton Oilers, and I think that completely goes to show this. When that Saturday, when they were down 3-0 and going into that game, they won 8-1, and I said, okay, they got one. Good for them. It's not it's a gentleman's sweep. We were looking at it was kind of running simultaneously with that Mavs-Celtics series in the NBA Finals, where it was the Celtics won 3 straight to start that series. The Mavs got Game 4, 3-1 back in Boston. They won it in Boston for a Game 5, and I truly expected Game 5 in Florida. They got it. They were going to win that one. The Edmonton Oilers were able to completely flip the script there. Game 5 winning 5-3. Such a fantastic game by Connor McDavid. 4 points in that game, willing his team to victory. Game 6, fantastic game by Leon Draisaitl and Stuart Skinner, willing their team to victory. Now you're looking at a Game 7. Impossible, improbable, feasible, probable. Completely insane. And now they have to come back once again. They need to come back in the third period of the Stanley Cup Finals to be able to, complete the comeback. This Edmonton Oilers team doesn't give up. We talked about how throughout the regular season, facing 3 straight losses, they went 5-0, 16-0, and then 8-0, following 3 straight losses. Now they're going 3-0 in a postseason where all eyes are on them, and it's been production from Connor McDavid. Sidney Crosby was Canada's golden boy, and was able to win a cup in 2009, and it meant a lot to Canada when he did win the cup. For Connor McDavid to win the cup here, I think would be just one of the biggest stories in sports. I don't know, you want to say sports history? It's been 31 years since this country that is known for this sport has won the championship for their sport. Granted, there's 7 teams in Canada, 25 teams in the States. That doesn't, the math still doesn't add up, that it would be 31 years since they won one, including the 2 franchises that have the most Stanley Cups are in Canada. If the Edmonton Oilers are able to come back in this third period, this would truly be something else in sports. So that'll wrap it up for our 4th segment of the night, talking about where would this comeback rank all time. I think this would be the greatest sports comeback of all time. When I come back, we'll be giving live reactions to Oilers-Panthers Game 7, as I have been in here for the second period, but I did get to watch a lot of that first period. So we will be talking about what I saw in that first period. Welcome back to the GSMC Hockey Podcast, presented by the GSMC Sports Network. We're back with our fifth and final segment of the night. We have the Stanley Cup Finals. 2-1, the Florida Panthers. The third period has started in this Game 7 in one of the most influential games in Stanley Cup Finals history and in NHL history. What did I see in this first period that I was able to watch, as of course I have been talking for the second period of this game? But for the first period, the Edmonton Oilers played very well. It was, however, the Florida Panthers that struck first with a fantastic tip goal by Carter Verhaeghe. It was just a simple shot by Evan Rodriguez from the left boards. Sends it on net, and it's Carter Verhaeghe that gets open in the slot. It was Evan Bouchard with a little bit of a defensive miss that let Carter Verhaeghe be alone in the slot, let him get his stick on it, and Stuart Skinner's not saving that puck. And it absolutely makes sense that this goal went in here. You also have, for the Edmonton Oilers, coming back the other end, as the Florida Panthers are now going on the power play with 16 and a half minutes left in Game 7. Oilers need a goal, and need a goal badly. Now going a man down for 2 minutes is not how you get that goal. Things are looking bad in Edmonton, and things are looking fantastic in Florida, as they are trying to not be on the worst side of history possible. Trying to warn off a comeback by the Florida Panthers here. But Mattias Janmark got the goal. It was assisted by Cody Ceci. This is Mattias Janmark's fourth goal of the postseason. It's his second goal of this final series. This guy has come to life here. Getting crucial assists, getting crucial goals in these games. It was him on a breakaway. It was found by Cody Ceci. It was a length of the ice pass pretty much by Cody Ceci that found Mattias Janmark kind of camping out on the other end of the blue line. And Mattias Janmark was able to bury it. It went kind of right over Bobrovsky's right leg, underneath his right blocker. Fantastic finish by Mattias Janmark that led him to that goal. And then it was Sam Reinhart. Of course, I didn't see the goal, but it was Sam Reinhart with his 10th goal of this postseason. He was so crucial for this Florida Panthers team when it came down to the regular season. And now in the Stanley Cup playoffs, he's trying to replicate that success. He had 57 goals and 94 points in the regular season, and now he's getting it done in the playoffs as well. This is looking bad for the Oilers. The Panthers have been able to kind of play the game that they are most comfortable with, playing very well at the blue line, very sound, and kind of swarming the Edmonton Oilers. Connor McDavid can't get a shot on net because down on the offensive zone, he's getting swarmed. And it's not for lack of trying. I mean, he's taking shots here. He's just not getting them through. And it was Warren Foegele with a high stick on Brandon Montour that has led, it was Evan Bouchard with a high stick on Eetu Luostarinen that has led the Edmonton Oilers to the penalty kill. That's a bad penalty to take, especially for Evan Bouchard, who is on the Edmonton Oilers. He's not on a penalty kill unit. Never mind. I thought he was on their PK unit, but he is not. But just looking at some stats here, the Florida Panthers have double the hits of the Edmonton Oilers in this game. They have 3 more shots on goal. They have 6 more giveaways, but also 3 more takeaways. The Oilers need to play better here on the offensive zone. They're not creating chances that they need to. Looking at the play-by-play, I mean, it's all the Florida Panthers. In the third period, you have 3 shot attempts by the Panthers, none by the Edmonton Oilers. 5 minutes into this third period, of course, you played the last 2 minutes on the penalty kill, but still, you need to be able to play better when your backs are up against the wall, and they're just not being able to create anything. Through the neutral zone, it was the Florida Panthers dominating in the middle part of the ice. not letting zone entries hit easily, and then when the Edmonton Oilers did get into the zone, they just blocked up all the lanes to the net. I saw so many block shots by the Florida Panthers on Evan Bouchard shots, who they always look to create something, especially maybe a tip from Zach Hyman. Down low, maybe a rebound goal there by him as well. Hyman has not stepped up in this game. I kind of expected that out of him. He hasn't been able to perform too well. He hasn't been able to perform too well when really they've been down in games. So we're really looking at Connor McDavid to step up in this game. McDavid still has yet to record a shot on goal. He hasn't recorded a shot on goal since his empty net goal in Game 5 that was, that Matthew Tkachuk diving stop that led to McDavid just scoring the goal. Anyways, this Edmonton Oilers team is really wasting such a historic special teams run, especially. The Florida Panthers are 1 for 21 on the power play in this Stanley Cup final. The Oilers have only given up 4 power play goals the entire postseason at a 96% PK rate. You can't waste this. I mean, you have to take advantage of this. You can't waste this 3-0 comeback. That's what's looking them in the face right now. They're down 2-1, 14 minutes left to go. What am I expecting to change here in the third period? Well, first off, you're going to start double shifting Draisaitl and McDavid. They're going to play, between the two of them, they're going to play 12 and a half of the last 14 minutes of this game. I mean, you got to look to them to be able to produce here. Already, Draisaitl has 14 and a half minutes on the ice. McDavid has 17 minutes on the ice. Ekholm has 18. Evan Bouchard has 19 already, and you still have 13 and a half minutes left to play. I would expect Bouchard to be around 26 minutes by the end of this game. Mattias Ekholm somewhere around there. It's also, you have an .895 save percentage from Stuart Skinner, so he's not playing too well. But maybe this is just a Bobrovsky game here. He stopped 14 of 15 shots on goal. They might just be getting goal lead here, and Bobrovsky is turning back to that brick wall. He did have that absence in practice yesterday that everybody was questioning about. Maybe that is just what they needed out of him. Maybe this has turned a new leaf for Bobrovsky, was able to get back into this Game 7. Unfortunately, he probably won't be winning the Conn Smythe, as I believe that it is a foregone conclusion as entering today. McDavid was a minus 5,000 to win the Conn Smythe. That's insane. So that really shows, win or lose, he is the Conn Smythe winner. We'll see how he reacts when he does have to accept the trophy around a bunch of people celebrating after he just lost a Game 7 in heartbreaking fashion. If they were to lose here, they still haven't lost. It has been a bad performance from the second line of the Edmonton Oilers. -2 from Warren Foegele, -1 from Leon Draisaitl, -2 from Ryan McLeod, who was on the third line but probably played on the second line for both those goals. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins a -1, Brett Kulak a -2. The team is looking for a hero here. It's only 2-1. You're only down by 1. You have 12 and a half. You have 13 minutes left to play in this game. You're just looking for a hero here. Who's going to be able to turn provider? Of course, you're looking at McDavid, but the way that this series and this game is going, I wouldn't be shocked to see that Cody Ceci scores the game tying goal. A Connor Brown scores it. Corey Perry, maybe. That would be a fun story. That would be a fun one to see. It really, I mean, it's anybody's game still. I said that this game was going into overtime before it even started, so I'm looking for the Oilers to get a goal here to prove me right here. That would be so much fun. But for the Edmonton Oilers, only 16 shots on goal through 50 minutes practically of game time. That's not going to get it done. The Edmonton Oilers are looking for a hero. Who's going to turn provider for them? I can't wait to see how this Game 7 finishes out. That'll wrap it up for the GSMC Hockey Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. Thank you all for tuning in. All of your guys' support means so much to me and to the GSMC Sports Network. If you guys did like the show, don't forget to rate it on your favorite podcasting network. subscribe on YouTube, like the show on YouTube as well. All of that does make a true difference. Getting this podcast out to as many people, being able to reach as many people as possible does mean a lot to us. Also, if you guys did enjoy the show, don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram at GSMC Sports Network. All of you guys have a fantastic night and enjoy what is left of this 2023-2024 NHL season.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day.